Hello, hello, hello. Welcome from upstate Chautauqua, New York. My last week here. I'm up in my bedroom area. It's good to see you. Look at that. We've got 6 people already. We didn't have as many on Thursday, but I guess it was probably because the afternoon time was a little bit difficult. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Hi, Noelia. Hi, Theo. Who else do we have checking in? I see Ashley Neal just gave me a thumbs up on Remind. I don't know if that means she's here now. Hello, Ashley. You with us? So we already did a review on Friday afternoon. I don't know if a lot of people were able to watch it yet. Hopefully, I went over sort of the form of the test, the number of questions, and what the test was going to be like, and the format. So I'll briefly go over those again for you. Let's see. Final exam. Okay. 56 questions. No short answer. Bruce, if you're watching today, I got no short answers for you. There will be probably 8 to 10 matching, 3 to 4 multiple answer, select all, you know, those kinds of questions. There's going to be probably, I think, 8 true-false questions, and the rest are multiple choice questions. Okay. Hey, Catherine, good to see you. Thanks for showing. Yes, 8 to 10 matching. 8 to 10 matching, Catherine. And the matching count double. Okay. The matching are going to count double tonight. And the true-false questions count 0.67. Okay. Excuse me, they count 2/3. Okay, that's how they got it. So your matching questions are going to count double, and your true-false questions are going to count 2/3 credit, and your multiple choice questions are sort of, and multiple answer are sort of the middle items. Oh, it's Bruce on my I should have realized that. I don't have a Catherine Wilson in my class. Cool, good to see you. No short answers, Bruce. No short answers. I know you were giving me the business about that on the last exam. In all of your short answer responses, you managed to refer to the fact that you were promised no short answers. That must have been a miscommunication, because I thought you were asking me about the final exam. The final exam has no short answers, but I did not mean to give that promise for exam number 3. And yes, I did take your criticisms in the right frame of mind as I saw them. They were quite funny. Okay, good deal. Wow, 11 people here. All right, so does everybody, those of you that just logged in, let's go real quick. Final exam, 56 questions, no short answer, 8 to 10 matching, which are going to count double. Multiple choice and multiple answer questions count regular credit, and your true-false questions are going to count 2/3 credit. 90 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to give you 90 minutes on this exam. Any questions so far about the format of the exam? Good deal. Why don't you go ahead and break out your pencil and piece of paper, and let's go ahead and take some test questions. How do you folks like that idea? No problem. The matching questions, I've got a bunch of matching questions, and they're not necessarily easy questions, Theo, so I wanted to make sure you had extra time to think about your answers. Okay? All right. So while we're talking about this, let's go to the multiple choice. You're matching. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your matching questions are going to be related to 1 or 2. 6 of the matching questions come from Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Okay? Remember, they count double. Okay? So that's 12% of your test right there. 12% of your test is going to come right here. 12% is going to come of your test is going to come from here. So you need to be really good with the matching items. You really, really, really need to do well. Now, what am I going to do from Chapter 1? I have 3 matching questions from Chapter 1. 3 matching questions for Chapter 1. And they are all about the different areas of psychology. The review is also being, I got a text message from Anna. I don't know if Anna's here or if this is just a remind message, but you folks do know, of course, that this review is being recorded, right? This review is being recorded. Oh, I am not presenting the notebook. Thank you very much. How about that? There you go. Oops. I don't have my third monitor set up, so I missed that. I apologize. Everybody got that? Okay, fantastic. 6 of the matching questions come from chapters 1 and 2. Remember, they count double. So that means that almost 12% of your exam comes from chapter 1 and 2 matching questions. Now, what am I going to make you do here? I'm going to ask you to match the subfields of psychology to, I've got 3 different questions. One asks you to match them to the classic findings that we've talked about throughout this class. So, for example, what kind of psychologist would have been interested let's say, Harry Harlow not Harry Harlow, let's say Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth in her study of attachment. What subfield of psychology does that represent? Go ahead and type that down. That's your first question. Right? So let's see, are we still looking at the whiteboard? No, yeah, okay, we got the whiteboard. So, tell me for question number 1, what kind of psychologist would study attachment? Okay, oops, let's see, there we go. 2, what kind of psychologist would study long-term memory? What type of psychologist would be interested in leadership styles and groups? And let's see. Let me see. Whoa, Nelly! Whoa, Nelly! Whoa, Nelly! I didn't mean to do that. Holy cow. Oh, okay. I thought I showed you my test. Oh, yeah. Okay. You can't see that. Whew. Worried me for a little bit. And then let's see. What psychology would be interested in understanding the effect of frontal lobe damage? Okay. Those are my first 4 questions. Go ahead and answer them. Okay, Noelia, developmental, correct. What do you say for number 2? What do you say for number 2? What do you say for number 2? I'm going to give you just a second. And Noelia, I'm assuming that, let's see, long-term memory. Somebody, let me hear you. Let me hear you type real quick. Oh my goodness. Y'all better think quicker than this. Long-term memory would be cognitive. Leadership styles and groups, because social psychology is about groups, that would be social psychology. I'm hoping that's what you're answering, Theo. And then question number 4, the effect of frontal lobe damage on our behavior. What subfield of psychology would that represent? Good job, Ashley. Thank you for answer number 3. Social number 3, absolutely. And number 4 would be, go ahead and answer them. I'd like to see y'all answer them. Biological, fantastic. Okay, great deal. So your first question is going to ask you like that. I'm going to give you classic findings. Actually, they'll be more along the lines of attachment. I've actually used psychologists that we've talked about to give you an extra hint, So if you're really good at remembering the names of the different psychologists from the different chapters, that will actually serve as a memory cue for you. Okay? And then, let's see. Work settings. Okay, which type of psychologist would you see working for IBM or another business? Go ahead and write that down. Or just go ahead and let it out, Ashley. IO, Industrial Organizational Psychology. Okay, very good. How about if I told you that this psychologist was working in a weight loss and lifestyle clinic? Weight loss and lifestyle clinic. Does anybody know which that one would be? That would be a health psychologist. Fantastic. Okay, this psychologist goes to court and works on things like custody and eyewitness testimony. Anybody know what kind of psychologist that would be? Anybody know what kind of psychologist that would be? I might have stumped you there. We mentioned it ever so briefly in lecture. Criminal. Oh, close. Do you know it's a word that starts with F? F. Does that serve as a hint? Does anybody know? Bueller. Family. How about forensic psychology? Think, oh goodness me, I can't think of that cop show on TV. Forensic. Yes, Bruce, nice spelling there, Bruce. Okay, and then this kind of psychologist would be working in a mental health clinic. And they are not a doctor. Okay, Jasmine, I'm glad to see you're back. I'm basically suggesting to you that this is sort of a style for how we're going to do the matching questions for Chapter 1. So for Chapter 1, I'm going to ask you about what kind of psychologist would be interested in attachment, what kind of psychologist would be interested in long-term memory, what kind of psychologist would be interested in leadership styles and groups, and then what kind of psychologist would be interested in the effect of frontal lobe damage. Then I have a question on settings. Where would you see these people? Somebody working at IBM, somebody working in a weight loss clinic, somebody working in a court, somebody working in a mental health clinic. Absolutely, clinical psychology. And then the third one, and this one's just for my own fun, dissertation. I don't know if you folks know what a dissertation is, but that's the written project that you have to do in order to get your PhD. It's called a dissertation. Sometimes people call it a thesis. At our school, a thesis was for your master's degree and a dissertation was for your final degree. I hate the way that camera's angled. Let's see. There we go. Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm going to do dissertation. Nerd. A nerd psychologist. You might be right. Okay, so what if I had a psychologist that had a dissertation about the difference between cone and rod cells in the human eyeball? What kind of psychologist would be doing that one? Rods versus cones. How about this? This psychologist did their thesis, their master's thesis, on the effect of family, a pre-discussion mediation in the effect on families. Oh my God, pre-mediation discussion, the effect of pre-mediation discussion on family conflict. Okay, so family conflict. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make up dissertation titles that are different from the ones that I have on the test. Let's see. A comparison of personality tests. A comparison of the accuracy of personality tests. Okay, and then the final one might be types of neurons. Okay. I got to change question number 3. Okay, let's go. Which one would be 1? Which area, subfield of psychology would be interested in rods versus cones? Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me? A special kind of biological. Somebody related to biological, but we actually had a term for that. It's an area of specialization. It's nope. Starts with an E. These people were named this because they were the first one to use this research method. Experimental. Experimental. Remember, the people who study the senses are called experimental psychologists, and that's simply because they were the first ones to ever do experiments. Okay, so we're going to call it experimental. Which psychologist would be interested in family conflict resolution? Family conflict resolution. What kind of master's level psych professional would this be? I'm going to count to 3 before I give you the answer. 1, 2, nope. They're not so much interested in adjustment problems. Your clinical psychologists are the ones that are going to treat the psychological disorders. Social psychiatrists, social counseling. I keep writing it in the wrong place. Counseling. Okay. A comparison of personality tests. There are actually two answers that I would accept on this. I've changed it on the test so it's clear because it's matching. So who would you say for comparison of personality tests? I'm actually going to take 2 right answers for this question. And I'm going to give you till the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. Clinical, making personality tests. I can see where you're going, Theo, and I'm not even going to give you that option so that you can't make that mistake. They're called personality psychologists or quantitative. Remember quantitative psychologists? When we on the slide in chapter 13A, where I talked about where I started my discussion on personality psychology, I mentioned that the 2 you would see would be quantitative psychologist and personality psychologist. Your personality psychologist would be the one building tests based on theories, and your quantitative psychologists, who are the statistics experts, would be supporting them and helping validate those tests. Okay? Quantitative and personality. Okay, in types of neurons, who would write a dissertation about the different types of neurons? I've already repeated this one once, but I'm going to go ahead. Now, here's the deal. I'm asking you to do these from memories. On the test, they're going to be matching items. So you will have the right answer there for you to pick, okay? So it'll be a little bit easier. Yes, Bruce, you are right. You are right. Okay, just remember, so that's how the first 3 questions are going to go on the test. Or, well, I've got it set to random, but that's the first 3 questions I created. Okay, do you think that helps? Do you folks now know what those questions are going to be like? Okay, okay, fantastic. Now, everybody should see the neuron on my screen right now. I just switched to neuron on the screen. Do you folks see that? Yep, there you go. It's a counselor. Social psychologists do not work in clinical settings. They are experimenters who study groups. They study how groups work, okay? And to make general principles about groups. A counselor would be working in a clinical setting to help a family. Now, maybe you were focusing on the group part of it, Ashley, which would be, I promise that the question I'm going to do hopefully will be a little more clear than that. Maybe that's what you were focusing on. I actually don't even have social psychologist as a choice because it would be a potential distractor. Okay? 90 minutes, Bruce, 90 minutes. Okay. All right, fantastic. Now, look at this neuron here. I've got a picture of this neuron on the exam. I'm not kidding you. I'm not trying to be tricky. This is the exact picture you're going to be looking at. And I want you to be able to identify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts on the neuron. Okay, do you see those 5 parts? Now, let's go ahead and tell me. Do you see these little stars right here? They represent the spaces in between neurons. What are these called? What are these spaces? Spaces. Okay. All right. So tell me up here. Let's go to the screen share again. Right up here in the top left part of the screen, you see these little branch-like structures? What are they? Theo's synapses is right. Bruce synapses is right. Okay, so these branch-like structures, they are dendrites. Absolutely fantastic. You see this blue stuff? This blue stuff? What is this blue stuff called? And that's what represents blue stuff, this little item right here. The blue stuff. What are this blue stuff that grows along this long root-like structure? Can anybody tell me? Myelin sheath. Very good. Man, you are on this tonight, Theo. Either that or you have your book open. All right. Do you see this little dot right here? This points to this root-like structure that goes from way over here to way over here. What is that structure called? And then this structure right here. This structure right here. That is called the axon. Holy cow, y'all. You need to hurry up because Theo's making a clean sweep of this whole thing right now. I'm going to have to dub him king of the neuron if we don't get any better here. This structure right here, what's that called? Very good, Sanjana. A little bit slow. Got to work on your speed. Think Jeopardy style. Got to be quick, quick, quick. All right. Anybody going to tell me? Womp, womp. Oh, dadgummit, cell body. And well, see, the cell body contains the nucleus. The thing in the middle is called the nucleus. This whole thing is called a cell body. Now, the nucleus does what a normal cell does. Okay, it divides. It has your chromosomes. It has your little organelles and your endoplasmic reticulum stuff. So all that's going to be in here, and it's going to do what a normal cell does. But then this area out here is the part of the neuron that can be hyperpolarized when it receives information down here. And then it causes the action potential to be generated. So not only does the cell body do one thing, it does 2 things. Oops, and I just stole my own thunder. Okay, cell body, fantastic. All right, now here's what we're going to do. I want you to tell me, what does this thing do right here? What do these things we've called dendrites? What's the function of a dendrite? Can you tell me? Dendrites, cell body, axon, myelin sheath, and synapse. Okay, you can see all those things. What do they do? The dendrite receives the impulse. Absolutely. Very good. Very good, Jasmine and Noelia. What does the cell body do? I just kind of told you the answer. I apologize for that. But what does the cell body do? It receives the dendrite, yes, but more importantly than receiving them, it generates the action potential, Noel. That's where the action potential actually begins. All right, can somebody tell me what an axon does? What happens on the axon? Just a quick statement. Quick statement on the axon. Generation of the action potential that travels all the way from the cell body to the terminal buttons, right? Oh yeah, I forgot to add in here, terminal buttons. Okay, very good, Theo, right? Okay, so tell me, what happens at the synapse? What happens at the synapse? Which is right here. What happens at the synapse? Can somebody tell me? The release of chemicals, absolutely. Where are those chemicals released from, Theo? What part of the neuron are those chemicals released from? Very good, Jasmine. You're on it too. You're quick. Theo, Jasmine, do either one of you know? Nope, they're released into the synapse. Where are they released from? What holds them before they are released? That's the question. I might not have been clear. You are on the right path, Theo, and I'll give you credit unless Jasmine pops up with the right answer here. We actually call it the terminal button. The terminal button. At least that's what we're calling it for this class. Calcium triggers it. The synaptic vesicles are in the terminal buttons. Absolutely. And these vesicles are kind of like buses, if you will. They're just containers that have neurotransmitter molecules. And what happens is when they receive the action potential, these synaptic vesicles merge with the cell membrane in the terminal button, and when they merge, it causes the neurotransmitters to be released from the terminal button into the synapse. The neurotransmitters then float across the synapse and fit into the protein receptors sites on the dendrites. Okay, they send a quick message, and then the neurotransmitters are released, and one of two things happens. They're either sucked back up into the terminal button, most of them are, and a few of them that are left remaining after that are cleaned up by glial cells. Okay, these cells, glial cells come in. These glial cells are either astrocytes or oligodendroglia. Not necessary for you to know that, but these are the cells that sort of clean up intracellular waste. Okay, good enough. I'm sorry I'm going on. I want you to hit this stove. Goodness me, because it's too big. Okay, fantastic. There is a matching question on lobes of the brain and sensory cortices. Lobes of the brain and sensory cortices. So, let's do that. Go to the whiteboard. Okay, so match the senses to the lobe. Okay, so gustatory, auditory. Be answering these in order if you could, either on your piece of paper if you want to, or on the board if you want, on the chat bar if you want to show us. The sense, let's see, sense of body, vision, and olfactory. And you know what? I'm even going to throw a tricky one in. This is not in the lobe, but it is a sense of balance. This is the only one that is. All right, so let's go ahead. Gustatory. Who knows what gustatory is? Gustatory. I'm going to count to 3. Which lobe of the brain is the gustatory in? Okay. No. Yes. Okay, so you got auditory. That is in the temporal lobe. The sense of body. No. Occipital. Vision is in the occipital lobe. And olfactory is in the frontal lobe. And I see where you're going with that. Your parietal lobe is where your sense of objects are in space, Theo. But this other brain structure is the one that keeps you from getting dizzy when you turn your head side to side or bend over. Okay? So frontal is taste. Absolutely. Very good. Very good, Noelia. Way to pick that up. Your bodily sense. Your feeling of touch. If somebody touches you. Can anybody tell me? Gustatory frontal. Yep. Okay, if you'll look at this chart right here, boom. Right here at the front part of your parietal lobe is your somatosensory cortex. This is where you feel your body. Okay? So, sense of body would be in the parietal lobe. And balance, well, your sensory organs are in your ear, just like your hair cells are in your ear. But hearing is not processed in your ear, Bruce. It's carried to another part of your brain. Which part of the brain is responsible for your balance? It's also responsible for coordinating motor movement. Maybe that helps. That's a clue. Without this, you can't walk smoothly. Noelia, Breaking Bad with the cerebellum. Absolutely. So, Bruce, you are right. You do have your semicircular canals in your ear, okay? And these semicircular canals have fluid in them, and you have 3 different canals in different directions. And as the fluid rolls around inside your ear, it rolls over these hair cells, and sort of that feedback is then carried to your cerebellum, which tells you which way your body is tilting at any given time. Very good, very good, very good. Okay, so let's see, we've got that. Let's go to another picture. Now I'm going to have some multiple choice questions. Oh, let's see. One quick question before we go anywhere else. Anywhere else. What kind of receptor cells are responsible for gustation? What do we call the cells that are responsible for taste? And it's a common word you all know. I also, that's one of your matching questions. Taste buds. Very good. Very good. They are chemoreceptors, Theo. We're going to call them taste buds. Okay, your auditory receptor cells. What are those? Very good, folks. Ashley, Noelia, good job. Your auditory, what do you have inside your ear that helps you hear sound? Does anybody remember? It's the same thing that's on your head. Ooh, how about that? Well, yeah, well, let's call them hair cells, okay? Let's call them hair cells. Okay, your sense of body. Your sense of body. Can anybody give me a couple of examples of those? I gave several of them in class. I have one, it's a matching item, so I'll give it to you, but I want you to tell me. Can anybody think of the sense of body that makes you feel your body? When something hurts you, what kind of receptor does it activate? Does anybody remember that word that starts with N? Nociceptors. Okay. Pain. Very good, Rory. Very good, very good, very good. Okay. And then you know what? We also have stretch receptors. So you'll know when your arm goes out, right? So when your arm stretches out, you have receptors that tell you that your arm's stretched out. And then we also have receptors that can tell when if you're being, we'd call them vibration. I forget the name that I actually used. Oh, holy cow! Yes, we do have. Oh my goodness! I forgot the name of those. Let's see. Hold on. I'm gonna go to. Let me go to this first, real quick. What are they called? Somebody help me out. I can't remember those. We call them. Oh goodness, I don't have it in here. You know what? It's not on the test anyhow. I have one of the ones that I've written on there. How about that? Excuse me. Dr. Roddenberry doesn't always know everything. I will promise you that. Okay, but let's go back to our whiteboard. What kinds of cells do we have for vision? Help me out, help me out, help me out. This one should be easy. We talked about these in depth. Who's going to be first? Who's going to be first? Come on, this is an easy one. The what's and what's. What's and what's. Rods and cones. Rory right behind her. Fantastic. Okay. Olfactory receptors, we just have olfactory receptor cells. Yep. And I didn't talk about this in class. I didn't really talk much about the sense of balance except to say where it was processed. And this is not on the test, but these are also hair cells, just like the ones in your auditory cortex. And they move based on the movement of fluid, just like the ones in your ear move. Okay? Good enough. All right, any questions so far? That represents 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. That represents 8 multiple choice questions worth about 2% of your grade each. So that's about 16% of your test. If you know that stuff that we just went over, you will 100% score those 16 percentage points. I went over the questions almost exactly like they are on the test. I changed a couple numbers here and there just so you couldn't figure stuff out, but a clever person might be able to figure things out on the test. Okay, so here we go. Let's go back to the screen share. I'm not going to ask you to know where these things are in the brain, but can somebody tell me what the pons is responsible for? That might be on a multiple choice question. Anybody tell me what the pons is responsible for? Let's see. Let me go to this one right here. Anybody knows what the pons is for? The pons is for, come on now, sleeping and waking. That's okay. It's okay, you now know, sleeping and waking. Okay, and so what part of the brain? Part of the brain controls circadian rhythm. Which one? Which one? Which one? I'll go with the 3-letter answer. Can anybody tell me what that is? It's in the hypothalamus, Theo. Got to get a little better. Get a little better on this one. I'm going to want a very specific answer, Theo. The suprachiasmatic nucleus. You rock, Ashley. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so now, more generally speaking, let's say your primary emotional center. Anybody know? Anybody know what that answer is? What about this part helps create new memories? What part of the brain is that? So if you look at the green thing, that's your emotional center, your primary emotional center, and it's attached to this purple thing, which is responsible for creating new memories. Absolutely. The amygdala is the emotional center and the hippocampus is the memory center, and they're attached because it's important. It's important that we have memories attached to our emotions, because emotions tell us what is important, right? Emotions tell us if we want to have sex with something, if we want to eat something, or if something is a threat to us. I hate to be crude that way, but that's sort of your basic emotional responses. All right, in the hippocampus, absolutely. 4 of the 5 senses go through this blue structure. What is this blue structure? Can anybody tell me the name of this blue structure that 4 out of your 5 bodily senses goes through? Which one, which one, which one? The thalamus, absolutely. All right, for double credit, extra, triple bonus points, can somebody tell me which of those 5 sentences does not go through the thalamus? Which one? Very good, Ashley and Jasmine, but remember, second place is just the first loser. Come on now, speed it up. Nobody wants a silver medal. We all want the gold. Look at that. Rory, boom, in the money, gold nugget answer there. He's first with smell. Good job, buddy. Good job, good job. Okay, in our chapter on emotion, we talked about these 2 areas of the brain as being responsible for sort of the fast emotional response and the slow emotional response. Can somebody please quickly type in the 2 parts of the brain responsible for the fast emotional part and the slow emotional part? Go ahead and help me out on that one. Who's got it? Who's got it? Who can answer that question? This was chapter 12 when we talked about emotions. Now, I already gave you one of them. We just answered it about 2 seconds ago. Do you remember? Do you remember? Come on, somebody take a guess. Remember, we have to learn emotional control. There you go. Yes, but which part of the cortex? Come on, Theo. Which part of the cortex? Is it the occipital cortex? Is it the parietal cortex? Is it the temporal cortex, or lobes, I should say, or is it the frontal lobe? Which of the lobes is it? Occipital, parietal, temporal, or frontal? Frontal, very good. Remember that, all right? Remember frontal lobe, this controls your impulses. This controls your, let me see, what do I want to see? Yeah. This controls your impulses. This controls your personality. This controls your emotions, which are part of your personality. Remember that, remember that, remember that. Okay, let's see. And are there any more questions? Let's go to the screen share. I think I've shown you all of them. Yes, I've shown you this one. I've shown you this one. Oh, and there's, oh, back to me. Back to me. Oops. I goofed that one. Okay, good enough. Don't go back and look at that. All right, so let's see. We already got this. Okay. Good. No, goodness me. All right, so you're going to have to know that as well. Let's see. Multiple choice. Okay. Let's see. Can somebody tell me what happens at the... Okay, yeah, right. Can somebody tell me what the optic chiasm does. Can somebody tell me what the optic chiasm does? Oh, come on. I hope you know this one. This was the coolest name we had. Now, just imagine those people that aren't going to watch this video. If they're not going to watch 45 minutes into it, they're not going to get the little nugget. Translate the vision impulse. Boy, that's kind of vague there, Theo. I'm hoping somebody can be a little more specific. What exactly happens? Something very specific happens. Remember, your eyeballs each have you have two pictures, one coming from your right eyeballs, one coming from your left eyeballs. Your right eyeball sees the left part of your world, the right eyeball sees the other side sees your right. Oh, good enough. The right side of your visual field. So your left side of the visual field is the right side of your visual field is processed with your left occipital cortex, and the left part of your visual world is controlled is perceived by the right visual cortex. And so the switching off from each eye occurs right there at the optic chiasm. And the left side of the world seen by each of my right eyes goes to the right side of my brain, and the two pictures of the right visual world seen by the left part of my eye go to the left part of my brain. Okay, exactly. Connect the two visual fields. That's a good way to say it. That's a great way to say it. Okay. Yes, allows you to see from both eyes. Okay, BMT. That's a way to put it. All right. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. Let's see. How about that's going to give you, wow. That's going to give you most of the way through chapters 4 and 5. All right, and that's going to get you probably 38 to 40% of the exam if you know that. Actually, more than that. I'm looking at a couple of questions down here that are repetitions. That's going to get you about half of your exam if you know that stuff. All right. Let's talk briefly about chapter 14 and 15. I know some of you are probably wanting to bail out of here, and I totally get that. When you have to, it won't hurt my feelings at all. But I'm going to get to the stuff I didn't talk about on Friday in case you want to talk about that. Let's see. So I want you to know the characteristic symptoms of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Be able to describe the symptoms of both of those. All right. I want you to know a little bit about gender comparisons among these psychological disorders. Okay, there's a question like that. I want you to know the difference between a hallucination and a delusion. Okay. And I want you to know what the most common kind of hallucination is. All right. We have auditory and we have visual hallucinations. Which one occurs more commonly? Okay. You will need to know the difference between counseling psychologists, clinical psychologists, and psychiatrists. Okay, let's see. And that's pretty much going to handle. Oh, and I do want you to know who Emil Kraepelin is, why he's important. And I want you to know what a differential diagnosis is, okay? Okay, general questions. This is not going to make a lot of sense to you because we haven't lectured about this part, but one of the things I'm going to focus on in the next couple of days is drug therapies, okay, because that seems to be where a lot of the therapy is right now. So I'm going to talk about differences in which drugs are used to treat which disorders and what side effects any of those drugs may or may not have, okay? Now, again, this isn't going to make sense to you because we haven't talked about it yet, but I am going to give you at least 5 or 6 important facts about drug therapies, and I'm going to expect you that pretty much every one I talk to you about is going to be represented on the test. Okay? Let's see. I want you to know general differences. I want you to know the general difference in the therapy types. So we're going to talk about drug therapy. We're going to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy, and we're going to talk about psychodynamic therapy. Those are different therapy choices. I want you to be able to know the general differences. Will drug therapy? No, the drug therapy will not be matching. I've got like 3 or 4 questions on drug therapy, and they'll all be multiple choices, Theo. Okay? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, yes, I've got 6 questions on biological therapy. Okay. Really, if you just pay attention to the biological therapies and learn the general differences between the 3 types of therapy we're going to be talking about, you'll be able to do chapter 14 and 15. It's not represented quite as heavily as the other 2 chapters, chapter 14 and chapter 13. I'm sorry, I've kind of gone all over the place tonight. Do you folks, are there any more questions? I'm sorry to keep you here so long, but I just want to go over everything in as much detail as I possibly can. And you're welcome to bail out at any time once you find this to be not useful. But I'm pretty much going over the test detail by detail. Okay? So, pay attention to the matching questions. They're worth double points. True falses are going to be worth half credit or 2/3 credit, and your multiple choice and multiple answers are going to be worth 1 unit. All right. So I think I've got them. The settings are 1 point, 1.5, and 3 points. Okay. I'm sorry that confused you. Never mind. Don't even pay attention. Yeah, 1.5 is the normal unit, and then I've doubled the credit of the matching, so they're worth 3 points each. Your multiple choice are worth 1 point each, and your true falses are worth 1.5, and your true false is worth 1 point. I'm sorry, that is so confusing. Let me write that down. 56 questions. Okay, so 3 points. Your matching are worth 3 points. Multiple choice are worth 1.5 points. Multiple choice. And your true false are worth 1 point. True false questions. All right. And so if you multiply the number times X questions, Y questions, and Z questions, it equals 100%. Does that make any sense? Cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic therapy, and I forget if I talked about behavioral therapy. Let me see. Coursework by semester. Hold on, I'm opening my PowerPoint for tomorrow up. I'll be honest, folks, I should have already had this done, but I was kind of slack about it this weekend. So I was busy finishing the exam. All right, let's see what we got going on here. I talk about the biological approach, the behavioral approach, and the cognitive behavioral approach. Okay. Actually, yeah. Let me see. Cognitive screen share. The cognitive behavioral approach. Okay. So we're going to talk about these three broad. Oh, sorry. I was typing. Okay, I fixed it back. Sorry. I've got hotkeys on my computer keyboard, so when I start typing on the one keyboard, it throws off the scene. So do you folks see this? All right, so oh, yes, I'm sorry. There you go. Theo wanted to see the sheet. There you go. Hopefully that clears it up. Okay. All right, let's go back to screen share. So these are the ones I'm going to want you to know. And so I'm going to spend, I'm probably going to spend one whole class talking about cognitive behavioral and behavioral approach. And I've got a couple of very general questions about that. And then I've got a lot of my questions are going to be related to neurophysiological stuff. Actually, I'm going to go in there and change that and take a couple of those neurophysiologies out, because I'm now realizing I focused too much on biology. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. You can expect a couple of questions on cognitive behavioral therapy. You can definitely focus on, what in the world? Okay, I've got the same slide in type a lot. But yeah, I'm basically going to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. So we're going to focus on that, and then we will focus on biological therapy, which is chapter 15B. Boom. And I'll talk about drug therapy, treating depression. I'll be talking about schizophrenia symptoms and the type of antipsychotics. I'll show you this chart from your textbook, which you're not really going to have to know. And then we've got other biological therapies. Okay. So it's been an hour. Oh, wow, we actually gained somebody. Who joined the broadcast? It looks like we have a new person on the broadcast. Oh, nope, they're gone. They were here for a minute. Okay. Well, at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Are there any other questions? So, Ashley, focus. I just realized I've got to go change the test some. Focus on bio, 50% of chapter 15. There will be, then there will be three behavioral, cognitive behavioral, and one alternate therapy question. I got to change 2 questions. Okay. There you go. How does that work? And so there are 8 questions on chapter 15. Really know the biology. That's the part that I'm really interested in you knowing. Know the biology part. Know the biology part and the subfields. That's going to get you the most points on this test. All right? And practice those questions that I gave you at the beginning of class. That's exactly the format of those questions. I'm going to give you a brief statement, and you're going to have to match it to the most appropriate subfield. And you will have to know all those subfields. I've got 3 multiple choices, so that's going to be 12 different subfields. I'm going to cover almost every subfield. All right? So talk to me. Are you ready for this exam? Do you folks feel like you've actually learned anything this semester? Do you think you've actually learned anything about psychology? I always wonder, I talk about it all semester long, and grades are one thing, but do you actually take any knowledge out of this class? I took classes in college where I got a good grade, but I didn't really learn much from the class. The two things can sort of be more than I actually thought I would. Really? Nice. Okay, cool. All right. Well, you know what? The whole goal is I want to make sure that it doesn't feel like a waste of your time. And as long as you don't feel like you've wasted your time this semester, then I'm happy no matter what happens. Okay? Cool. I'm going to see you in lecture tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Those of you who want to come, if you don't want to come, that's fine. You can watch it as a rerun. I'll be doing lectures on Monday and Tuesday, and the exam will be due Thursday. Okay, so that gives you 2 days. Now, to help any of you out who are running a little bit ahead and need to get out of town, the exam will actually be available tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Okay, test will be available tomorrow morning. Test available Monday morning at 9 a.m. All right, and that's just for those of you who have some sort of time pressure. I've talked to a couple of students that have time pressures. If you need to start the exam early to finish it before you go out of town, it's fine with me. Okay. Well, that's my fault, Theo, because I was supposed to make it so that the subfields were crystal clear to you right now. So to the fact that I haven't done that, I need to improve my teaching next semester, because if that doesn't come through, then we need to work on a way to make it come through. But thanks for, you're at least supposed to understand the distinctions better, so I feel like that's a failure on my part. Since you'll be teaching 2 new PowerPoints, would you recommend waiting until after those to take the exam? Yes. Well, no, I'm going to create the questions tonight before I even go over the PowerPoints. The PowerPoints that you have tomorrow for class will be, by tomorrow morning, will be legitimate representations of the content. I would still wait until after the 2 lectures to start anyhow. I would just do that just to hear me talk about it one time and to look at the PowerPoints on your own. The only reason I'm making it available early is I've had a couple of students who have to travel, and they're either going to have to make the decision of, they're going to have to make hard decisions, and I'm trying to help them out. And so I'm just willing to help anybody out who wants to go ahead and finish up the class early. All right? But it's still not recommended. Most of them clear? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll try to make them even more clear next semester. All right, folks, look, I'm going to go ahead and log off. I've kept you for, God, how long have we been here? I bet we've been here an hour tonight, and I do apologize for that. But let's go ahead and say goodbye. What time on Thursday will the exam be due? It will be due at 11:59 p.m., okay? And I am hoping to have your grades completed and on Blackboard by 1 a.m., okay? I'm going to be waiting up Thursday night. As you finish your exams, you're going to automatically get your own attendance, your own final grade. But, it's automatically going to be there. But then I'm going to go back Friday morning at about 12:30 a.m. They're due at 12. A half an hour after the due date, I'm going to go in, and I'm probably going to be giving a curve for this class. So I will be raising everybody's final grade just a couple points. Okay? And I'm going to do that Friday morning about 12:30 a.m. And then I will be putting your final grades in by lunchtime on Friday. Okay? So what I want you to do is to look at your final grade carefully Friday morning by 9 a.m. and send me an email if I've made a mathematical mistake or there's a problem. Okay? All right, folks. Take care. Have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye.